Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining our weekly podcast. I'm Robin Lewis, founder and CEO of the Robin Report, which, by the way, is much more than just a daily report. It really is a knowledge platform. That's what we like to call it, from which we communicate thought leadership on various strategic topics. Yes, through the daily reports, but also these podcasts. And we do webinars and hopefully live events in the future. And along with our chief strategist, Shelley Cohan, who also, by the way, is a professor at FIT and Syracuse University, we welcome you today to our conversation on the topic of Macys and Toys R Us. A big win? Well, we'll see. So, Shelley, Shelley, I was fortunate, as you know, to have had a conversation with Macys Chief Stores Officer, which is right up there under the CEO, Mark Mastronardi, which will, by the way, be aired sometime in the fall. And by the way, I have met and spoke to Mark many times, and I have to say, Shelley, that he is really a visionary leader. And
Yes.
you know, Macys, it takes a lot of guff from the world, but they have some very smart people, and he is certainly one of them. And he really does drive a lot of the innovation at Macys, and has been behind some of the great initiatives coming out of Macys in the past 5 years. He was a business development EVP back in 2016, and now, as I mentioned, he is chief of stores. So, Shelley, I asked him about the Toys R Us shop and shop concept and some of the highlights. Here's what he had to say. He said, as we know, Macys announced its expanded partnership with WHP Global to bring the beloved Toys R Us brand to every Macys store in America in time for the holiday season. Shelley, has timing alone is perfect, right? I mean, kids and Christmas.
Honestly, when I read about the announcement of the physical Toys R Us locations and the timing being right around holiday, I had one thought. This could really help Macys for its fourth quarter. Yep. So here's what I'm thinking. You know, Macys does more business in the fourth quarter, so there's greater opportunity to expand exposure to the Toys R Us brand. Holiday selling is driven by marketing, and 35% of Macys sales happens in fourth quarter. So they're heavily reliant on fourth quarter. And get this, Robin, 43% of Macys profits, fourth quarter. So
wow. Yep.
Q4 is king, right? I think the second reason it's a really interesting with the timing is that Toys R Us is really going to drive a lot of traffic and additional customers over to Macys who may not be Macys shoppers. And the last piece is that, as you know, Macys is really focused on digital. And this year, in their annual report for financials from 2021, digital sales were about 35% of total sales. If you go back to 2019, they were 25%. So they're really putting a lot of effort behind digital, as you know, a lot of retailers are. And they already introduced Toys R Us online last year. So adding these like physical locations is only going to help fuel their whole omni-channel experience for customers, including, you know, their buy online, pick up in store.
Yeah, boy, those are great points, Shelley, and so true. And well, and in fact, Mark had mentioned in our conversation, he said, quote unquote, this advances the strategic vision of our omni-channel retail brand, building and elevating the customer experience in both stores and across digital platforms. He said the first handful of stores opened earlier this month with the target of having all stores completed by October 15th. So, you know, and the in-store shops are going to range from 1,000 square feet to about 10,000 square feet, I guess, you know, depending on the store. And they will flex even larger, obviously, during the holiday season to offer an even wider assortment.
Yeah, and Robin, remember, Macy's has always been very solid in terms of marketing strategies, and they're going to make sure through marketing messages, promotions, events, all that's going to be in line with the Toys R Us expansion in stores. In fact, Macy's already announced that every store will have 9 days of in-store events to celebrate
Wow.
the shop
Yeah,
openings. This
that's
is in
great.
I know, it's in mid-October. And the events are going to be around family-friendly activities and daily giveaways like Barbie, Lego, and more.
Yeah. And speaking of Barbie and Lego, I was doing a webinar with Ethan Chernowski. We've done
He's
several.
great.
Yeah, he is tremendous. We've done several with him. Yeah, he's the CMO of Placer AI. And the webinar was called Predicting the Future. Retail status check on how bad it has been, and what's real and what's fleeting. And his theory is that with the Toys R Us coming back to stores, it brings with it a sense of nostalgia. For example, Shelley, the shoppers who grew up on Toys R Us, which is the target customer age for Macy's.
Yes, it is.
Right now. Yeah, and they're going to look at that and they say, well, they'll appreciate the return of the legacy toy retailer, Toys R Us. Ethan said, quote, nostalgia's impact on consumer sentiment is a big draw and added element for those that grew up with Toys R Us. He said this will be a big positive for Macy's. Shelley, Macy's has already seen a positive response to the online shopping on Toys R Us by Macy's. Since last August, Macy's customers have been able to shop the huge assortment of Toys R Us products online exclusively. In Macy's Q1 2022 earnings report, toy sales were 15 times higher than the comparable period to the Toys R Us partnership.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's staggering. I think that, so the other thing is just to mention in terms of the whole toy business and the US market. So according to NPD says that in 2021, the toy industry is approximately $38 billion.
Wow.
Which is that's a 14% increase over 2020. So their timing's great because according to NPD, the toy business is trending up.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big headwinds for Macy's may be the whole shift of toys. And the US Census Bureau, when they look at toy sales, they include the hobby, craft, and toys kind of all together. It used to be that was a really big time period for November, December. But now what we're seeing is sales are spread out more evenly throughout the year. So I mean to say there's less emphasis for toys on Q4. So sales of toys, and I'm talking back in the day in the early 90s, really 40% of them came out of November, December.
Yeah.
But when we look at last year, it was 29%. So you see the shift of people buying toys more consistently throughout the year. So of course, that shift is going to be beneficial for Macy's in 2023 because they would have had the Toys R Us shops in the stores for the whole year.
Right.
But even with that said, department stores are really heavily dependent on holiday season, specifically November, December. And they also have big pockets to push substantial marketing strategies for the brand.
Yep.
So who knows? Maybe we will see Toys R Us in the Thanksgiving Day parade.
Hey, that's a natural, isn't it?
I think so. I don't have any insider information, so don't quote me on that. But
Yeah.
I think the other big advantage department stores have this year going into holiday is that they sell many categories, which minimizes the number of shopping trips to various stores. So convenience is key for today's consumer. And what the pandemic has done, it's really has emphasized bigger baskets, less visits, and going to fewer stores for shopping.
Absolutely, Shelley. Totally agree. And that's across the board in terms of retailing. That's a new thing. Less visits, bigger baskets, less number of stores. Absolutely. In fact, Ethan said he has been positive on department stores. He calls it quote unquote mission-driven shopping visits, buying more categories from one store and reducing the number of shopping visits to a variety of stores. He also predicts that indoor malls will have a strong holiday season because of mission-driven shopping. And
Interesting.
yeah, I know. This is, department stores have taken beating for years. Anyway, he's very bullish on the department stores. Now, he actually likes the Macys Toys R Us partnership and thinks it will do very well. So anyway, Mark was super optimistic, obviously, about the partnership and told me the customer response to the partnership with Toys R Us has already been energizing to see and witness. And Shelley, listen to these stats. Macy's Toys sales were 15 times higher for the first quarter of 2022 compared to the period before the Toys R Us partnership launched. So according to Mark, fourth quarter 2021 holiday results have showed that of the customers who have shopped their Toys R Us assortment, 25% were new customers to Macy's. And 93% of these toy customers cross-shopped other categories in the store. I mean, Shelley, are those numbers awesome or not? Think about it.
No,
Yeah.
it's the 93% of the customers crop shop. There you go, right there, Robin.
Yeah.
Talk about helping Q4. So to be honest, when Macy's and Toys R Us originally announced the online partnership, I was a little suspect, only because I've spent, as you know, half my career in department store land, and they've never been able to pull off a profitable store toy business. So, but when I learned about the rollout of Toys R Us in stores, my instinct tells me it's a winner. The toy industry has really shifted from specialty stores to large discount retailers, and they're expected to position themselves as the leading toy retailers. I'm talking about Walmart and Target.
Yeah.
And Walmart and Target are going to really have aggressive pricing. So that's put a lot of pressure on the industry's profit, of course. So maybe Macy's can give them a run for the money.
Yeah, I think so.
And then just to add to this, I have to show you this picture. I'm going to try and show it to our audience as well. But when I was doing tours for American Dream, the mall that's in New Jersey, they have a Toys R Us store there. Hopefully you can see this picture. But the biggest draw is seriously people getting their picture with Jeffrey. The Jeffrey, the icon for Toys R Us. So you can see a picture. I got my photo with Jeffrey there. But it was a huge draw, which to me was kind of surprising, But
well, yeah.
Nostalgia.
It's nostalgia, and it's an iconic brand, and so I think, and that the American Dream Mall. Obviously, it targets families, so I can see the parents of these kids getting all excited about this Toys R Us thing.
Right, exactly. The parents are excited. They're the ones putting the kids in line. The kids are like, "Who's this giraffe?" Right?
Yeah. And well, you nailed it, Shelley. And by the way, I'm glad you're wearing a mask in those photos. Anyway,
yes.
Shelley, when we do these podcasts, usually we have a list of pros and cons, and many times you and I are in disagreement. But for this matchup, we really couldn't identify any major challenges for this initiative. Macys and Toys R Us is like a home run, right? Anyway, and by the way, Shelley, for all of our viewers and listeners, watch for our email invitation to my webinar conversation with Mark, during which Mark will be talking about a wide range of Macys initiatives, including Toys R Us, of course, but much more than that. So please look for the email and register and get into listening to that webinar. It's very interesting.
Well, great. And for our listeners, you can find more of our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and therobinreport.com. Look for us on YouTube, where we started broadcasting our podcast as well. And please make sure to follow us on social media, link in with us, follow us on Twitter to find out the latest thoughts about the industry.
And I once again want to thank all of you for joining us. I hope it was a good learning experience for you, as it was for me and Shelley in digging this material up. And by the way, if any of you have some ideas about topics that you would like Shelley and I to cover, please don't hesitate to send me an email at robin@therobinreport.com. And thanks once again.